Hey, good afternoon. What a turnout. Thank you for being here. I love you too. A lot.
Yeah. Now, this is your first time at Fan Expo.
Yes, it is.
When's the last time you were in Toronto?
Hairspray, when I filmed Hairspray.
Yeah. Well, welcome back.
That was a blast. Yeah.
There's so many things that we want to talk to you about, but so many things, so many great films. I do want to talk about your newest film, The Fanatic. You have said, yeah. Have you guys seen the trailers?
How many of you have seen it?
Who's seen? Oh, amazing. That's awesome. You have said that you're really proud of this film. Why are you excited for the audience to see it?
Because I think for the first, and I could be presumptuous here, but I think for the first time in film history, I've captured the actual heart of a fan. Because, yeah, right? Because I've been a fan my whole life of the artist I love. I could cry thinking about it, but when you're a little boy and you love Jimmy Cagney, or you love the Beatles, or you love Barbra Streisand, or you love Paul Newman or Brando, you get discombobulated about it. And, well, that's for you. So I always wanted to do a role that somehow, somewhere captured that unrequited feeling about your need to connect with that person you love so much. And then this, of course, is because it's a thriller and a horror to some degree, we had to escalate it to this utter, drama. But at the core of it is there this heart of the fan. And I just felt like it was in every single one of us. And I think that's why I'm excited about it, believe it or not.
That's an amazing answer. Now, I don't know if you guys are all familiar, but Fred Durst directed this film.
Yeah, from the Limp Bizkit, Fred Durst.
Yeah, which is amazing. So I need to know, how did you two connect? Did you know each other before? Did he just send you the script?
Okay, so I met him because he wanted to get into film.
Yeah.
He was really more of a film aficionado and he thought himself more as an actor. And he created the character in Limp Bizkit. And really, so it was reverse engineering, really. So meeting me, he thought maybe I would get back to his core of his passion, which is filmmaking. So I said, well, maybe one day we could do that. It took years for him to find a script, and he wrote it. And he presented it to me. I fell in love with it for the reasons I just told you a minute ago. And I couldn't wait to play him. Couldn't wait to play this character. So Fred is a filmmaker. He's a visionary. He's very detailed in how he crafts his illusions on screen, and I really enjoyed the ride a lot.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have not seen it yet, but I cannot wait to see it because the trailers look so good. I know people have been asking this when you've been doing interviews for the film, but I would imagine over the years you've had some very good fan experiences and maybe some that are a little peculiar. Do you have any fan experiences that stand out to you?
Well, the number one fan experience I've had was there was a young girl 40 years ago, believe it or not, that changed her name to Sharon Travolta.
Oh, wow.
And she was she's a British girl, and I thought, well, this is a fleeting thing. She's still, in England, my number one fan. She watches every movie I've ever made on her birthday, 24 hours around the clock.
Oh, wow.
And I love her dearly. And she's just an incredible human being. Yeah. And the only kind of odd experience I've had is two different times. Someone kind of went into my house, not unlike Moose did in the movie. But they were not ill-intended or had anything in mind other than wanting to meet me. So it was actually kind of touching in a way. So that was
nice way of looking at it. Obviously here we love to celebrate pop culture. We all have our own passions for films or television, but is there anything else that you are geeking out about right now, that you're like a show that you're really into, video games, music, anything that you're loving right now?
Yeah, the video I did with Pitbull, where I played Three to Tango, only because, I don't get to dance very much. So 3 weeks ago, Pitbull called and said, I have this new song that I would love for you to be in, and it included dance. And I said, I'm on board, because I love Latin rhythms, and I love to dance to them. But no one's given me an opportunity in years to actually move this body. Well, I mean, Edna, but Edna was moving in a much different way. But anyway, I did it. It was awesome.
Cool.
And now I think it's up to 10 or 11 million views, and people seem to like it. And so that's the thing I've been enjoying the most lately.
That's cool.
Yeah, thanks.
And did you know Pitbull before?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Known him for about 3 years, and I was a fan.
Yeah.
I just reached out to him because I loved watching him perform. Yeah. He had such a sense of humor about his performance. All the women and all that thing is just kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing, but he's excellent at electrifying. Electrifying!
Yeah! That's amazing.
And so I thought, anyone, you have to be a fan of someone's if you expect another to be a fan of yours. Mm-hmm. So I was a fan of Pitbull's, and then look what it got me. I got to do something I hadn't done in a long time, so it was fun.
Very cool. All right, you guys want to talk about some iconic roles? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so this is hard. This is like a Sophie's choice, but do you have a role or a couple of roles that were just so much fun for you that you still look back on with such fond memories?
Well, okay, so there's the obvious roles of Grease.
Yeah.
And Urban Cowboy.
Yeah.
And this recent one, the Fanatic, that I enjoyed the process of doing. Yeah. Lucas Talking, I enjoyed the process.
Yes.
Wild Hogs, I enjoyed the process. So there's some films that you want to put in a time capsule, and then there's others that you just love the process of doing. Yeah. And it can be different. There can be movies that are very difficult to do, but they become enormous hits. And you enjoyed the process, but you remember how tough it was to make the movie. Yeah. So there is a difference between the outcome of a movie and the pleasure in which you did it. Yeah. But I could say that out of the, I don't know how many movies I've done, maybe 70 or 65 movies.
Oh my goodness.
Out of that, at least 30 I really love doing. And out of that 30, there's probably 10 that I would love to be able to do again, just for the joy of doing it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
And off the top of your head, which ones? I think
I just mentioned
all those. Okay, good. Would you ever want to do? You know how reboots are huge right now. Like, do you feel like those were good for their times, the movies that you've been in, and you wouldn't want to revisit those now for a new audience?
Well, what I gather is, for instance, the audience would love to see a Swordfish sequel, or they'd love to see a Face Off sequel, or they'd love to see a Pulp Fiction sequel. So those are the movies that I think would be the most pleasurable for the audience to revisit. But again, all those things are up to the bigger studios. I get to do pretty much what I want at the smaller film level, and then you have to kind of wait for the bigger studios to give you the bigger budgets for the bigger movies,
So with so many iconic roles that you've just mentioned, how do you pick these films? Is it the script? Is it the people attached? Like, what's your process when it comes to choosing the film role you want to take on?
It's all of that. It's the quality of the script. Is the character unique or different enough to excite you to perform it? Are the people involved in it? Are they of a quality of communication that you agree with or admire? And if all those bits and pieces come together as a kismet, you'd say yes. So it's all that together. Yeah.
You have such a likable quality in person and also in a lot of your films. So many people feel connected to you. Do people come up to you and ask you for advice on life? Do they ever ask you for perspective on things?
Well, it would depend on the subject matter. And also, I usually have an answer for something. But I wouldn't say that there's a common advisory that I'm asked. But What do you need?
Oh my gosh. The key to happiness. No.
Well, the key to happiness.
Easy question.
Really?
No, no. Well, what makes you happy?
Well, there's a lot of things that make me happy. The arts make me happy.
Yeah.
Entertainment makes me happy. My family makes me happy. My interest in aviation makes me happy. Yes, thank you. But the only way you can really keep a steady pace of happiness is to always try to flourish and prosper when the odds are against you, to not do that. So interferences in one's life, if you can just keep your eye on the goal, then these minor distractions of naysayers or people that don't want to see you get what you need or want, if you can kind of just ignore them or put them on the side, you'll proceed and achieve what you want. It's very important to have your sights on what your valuable final product of life. Yeah. So that's how I try to live it, because there's so much false information about things out there. There's false information about products. There's false information about health. There's false information about food. There's false information about people. Yeah. And if you could kind of discard what isn't empirical or provable, then perhaps at some point you have a chance at flourishing and prospering in a way that has less interference, But you have something, wrong with you. You don't go to a car mechanic, you go to the right source. In the arts, there's so much false information. You should witness the average acting class. Oh my God. I wish I could be like kind of a ghost and just, guide them and say, no, what he just said isn't true. If you do that, you'll never work. Oh, no, shh, don't say that, because that I've never found that to be true. Yeah. Meaning you can find so many lies in the arts that it's phenomenal. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so you did mention aviation, and I know you were an avid pilot. Where did this love for aviation come from?
I was 5,
yeah?
and I would look up into the skies, and there would be these gorgeous aircraft flying, airliners with their insignia, and I'd imagine where are they going, and who's on it, and how beautiful they looked, and what they could do. They could be lighter than air and penetrate the skies with speed and beauty. And I just got captivated by this glorious thing. And I never gave up on my, talk about interfere. There's a good example. I tried 5 times to get my solo license. And every time I almost got it, I ran out of money. I was working at a supermarket. And, if I made $37, that instructor would take that $37 and it would suddenly be the payment for my air lesson. So I would run out of money, and then I would just save up again. And finally, a very good-hearted United Airlines pilot decided that he was not going to stop until I got my solo license. And he was well-intended and a good person. But again, 3 to 5 times I had all this interference. But my goal was, I don't have the money, but I have the passion, and I'm going to get it. And look here, 12 jet ratings later, and I fly all sorts of airliners, and it's fantastic. But it was that purity of spirit, Thank you.
Do you have any memorable mid-air moments? Anything that really stands out to you?
Oh, well, I've had a lot of mid-air moments, but there was only one that came close to a tragedy, and that was this is 25 years ago. I lost all my electric over Washington in a corporate jet, but because of the schooling and the training, I handled it, and with flying colors, literally. Yeah. So that was the closest thing that I've ever had. But it's so safe by nature, air travel, that I don't worry about it too much. Just keep the training up. Emergencies. I always ask for the worst case scenario, when I'm training. I said, well, I know this plane is wonderful, blah, 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 but what is the worst thing that could happen in this particular plane?
Yeah.
And then I train and I drill and I drill and I drill, and boom, you know, that's
how you prepare.
that's how you save your life.
Yeah. Is there one type of airplane that you like flying more than any other one that you've tried? Or
Well, the big ones are fun because they were so, you know, I was such a fan of the airlines, so those massive planes seem to be register as an achievement, you know. So probably the bigger ones are the most fun for me. Yeah.
All right, so going back to acting, but also, I don't know if everyone knows it, you're also a producer, and you were a producer on American Crime Story.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, so what was that? Yeah, they're clapping. Let's clap for that. I mean,
Well, it's the People versus OJ
Right.
is what she was referring to.
sorry, that's what I'm referring
Yeah,
to. Yes.
American Crime Story is the umbrella name.
Right.
But the specific was the People versus OJ.
I mean, critics, viewers, everybody just loved this, loved your role. So was it challenging switching back and forth from acting to being a producer on it as well?
No, it wasn't challenging only because they allowed me to be a producer for one reason. That was to call it. It was my first venture into television since Welcome Back, Kotter.
Oh my gosh.
So
Wow.
they knew that I was trepidatious, and they thought, well, if he's going to go back to television, he has to trust us.
Yeah.
So in order for him to trust us, maybe we allow him to be a producer, and he can quality check what we do. So the script and the casting and the vision of that, I was able to investigate and approve various aspects, and that in turn allowed me to feel comfortable. And then about a month into a 5-month shooting thing, I felt utterly comfortable and really was able to do it without even worrying about them. Yeah.
Did you think you would get back into TV, or was it just something about this project that just you knew you had to be a part of?
I think now with movies changing so much, you just look for where the good work is.
Yeah.
For years, the great work was in movies only, and now the great work seems to be in television and some movies. But television seems to be where everyone's gravitating for freedom of expression. So you have, you know, movies, limited series like The Act, or like the Fosse Verdon, you know, thing. These are things you wouldn't get to do in a movie. And People versus OJ, you wouldn't get to do in a film. So you be selective about that, and always selective. But I think that's what TV allows you to do now.
As an actor, especially if you're not producing on a film or a show, you don't always have the say, or probably rarely have the say, as to what scene goes in the final product and what scene doesn't, what ends up on the cutting room floor. Is there any scene from a certain film or show that you've done that you wish the audience got to see, but ended up on the cutting room floor?
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, not to put you on the spot.
Well, in this film, The Fanatic, which
Yeah.
some have seen here, but there was a great scene that we had to cut because we couldn't afford the rights to the song. But my character, in fact, sings a rap song from LL Cool. And it's hilarious. He's broken into his favorite movie star's house, and he's so excited that he starts to rap. And it's hilarious and wonderful. And there's one of them.
Yeah.
In other movies, I used to have to fight to get. I remember Saturday Night Fever, for instance. They had that solo dance that I do with the colored floor, all cut in close up. And I had studied for 9 months to do this performance. I started to cry. I said, why would you cut this in close up? Did I not deliver the dance?
Yeah.
And so fortunately, the producer, Robert Stigwood, said, you go back in the cutting room and you make them use what you think would be appropriate. I said, okay. So I went into the cutting room and I said, all right, so where's the master on that? That means the overall global view. And so I said, well, I like the master. And then just cut in when I point, I go across to the people in the disco. Just have me do that, and that's the only close-up you need. Other than that, I think the master's fabulous. So I got my way, and that's what you have there.
Thank goodness.
And I got my way with Olivia because she was the one that I wanted. And I had to fight for her, and I said, there's only one human being in this world that can play Sandy, and it's Olivia Newton-John. I just can't imagine anyone else. And boy, was I right.
Oh, that's amazing. So you had a lot to say when it came to the casting. You had a big say in that. That's
Yeah,
cool.
right. Pretty
I
much
didn't
from
know
the
that.
start, which is a lucky break for me.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so with different roles that you've played, with Fanatic too, and I'm thinking Face Off, I don't know if it's, do you have more fun, but is it juicier to play a villain versus maybe like the hero in a film?
Well, any role is easier to play if it's well written.
Yes.
And if a villain is well written, there's a little more freedom in how you, like if you take Face Off and I didn't know what I was going to say as Nick to Nick, but when I saw him tied, in the prison, kind of locked to the floor, and I thought the wicked, tormented guy would say, "Ooh, you good looking, you hot." And of course, he's looking at his own face. And I thought, wouldn't it be hysterical if he just missed his own face? And then I said, Nick, would you mind if I licked your face? And he said, go for it. So then when I said that line, I grabbed his face, I licked it, and then he went, ah! He went crazy and backed off. But those are the freedoms you get. Even in The Punisher, yeah, thanks. That's a fun movie. I mean, the cold, deep, dark place that character's from. He throws his wife in front of a train, and then he says to the guy that he thinks she was cheating on, says, "She caught the train." I mean, it's so demented, but fun to play. So there is a little more freedom in the dark, bad guy characters. Yeah. And even with Pulp Fiction, he's people loved him, but when he shoots Marvin, and clearly Marvin's head is gone, but I improvised, I shot Marvin in the face like I had stepped on his toe. It's not really a big deal because I just shot him in the face. Now, if you see that his head is gone, so it's so wildly out of the realm of logic that then suddenly has humor to it. But those are the kinds of things that bad guys allow you to do if they're well conceived or if they're well structured,
Okay, so this is, I need to know, what was your first reaction when you read Pulp Fiction? Did you know, I have to be a part of this?
Well, like I did Saturday Night Fever, I thought it was a little movie. I thought it would be no bigger than Reservoir Dogs. Yeah. I had no idea that it would be this iconic, cultural phenomenon. Yeah. But nor did I with Saturday Night Fever. I thought that was a little art film. So sometimes you don't know what you're getting. I knew Grease was going to be epic. Okay. But I did not know Saturday Night Fever or Pulp Fiction would be epic.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so something else that I know is very close to you. I want to talk about the Jet Travolta Foundation. Mm-hmm. Why is it important for you to give back to the community?
Well, I think when you lose a child, you really don't ever get over it. So your only effort is to help others. You have this immediate urge to make up the vacuum, which is impossible to make up. So you want to do something. So the only thing you can do is help others through their struggle or their loss. And that's basically the fundamental thought on the Jet Foundation. Yeah.
Very good, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Did you know that there's a Grease dance video game? Speaking of Grease, oh my gosh.
Well, explain it. What is that? Come on,
Oh
really?
my God, that's hilarious.
How old is that app? Is that recent? Really?
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
And so like,
Oh my God.
so like it shows you a step from you're the one that I want, and then you repeat it? No shit. Wow. I gotta see it. And what is it called?
Oh, it's for the Wii.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Well, that's cool. Thanks for, so many times everybody has shown me, and I've only done this event, this is my third time ever, and I see these pieces of merchandise that I never knew existed.
That's cool.
What is that one? Oh,
my
yeah,
God, look at
my
that.
early record. Right. Think what you want about the early records, but I would have never been able to do Grease if it weren't for those early records. Because, do you?
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, this is awesome.
Do you still perform today? Are you still like actively like as a musician? Do you have any like memorable performances?
Well,
When you were-
what do you think?
Well, yeah. Yes. But when you were younger, like, is that something that you wanted to get into first before acting?
Oh, I thought you meant, for me now. I didn't know what you mean as a little, like
Well,
a
yeah,
younger
like
person.
were you into music before you wanted to get into acting, or did they all kind of?
I was 5 when I fell in love with Jimmy Cagney,
Yeah.
and he, in Yankee Doodle Dandy, he sang and danced and acted, and Gene Kelly and American in Paris and Fred Astaire. So I was thinking in those terms very early on, trying to walk up the wall and do whatever he did in his movies. And so my earliest my earliest memories are not only planes coming over the sky, but they're these performance memories, which I still love.
Yeah, that's amazing. What has all of this been like for you coming to conventions? Because I knew this is new, and coming to conventions and meeting all your fans like this. Like, what's this been like?
Well, the thing I love about everyone I've met today and the energy is that I'm getting a lot of love back and a lot of appreciation.
Yeah.
And it's so, I love you too. And it's so deeply touching to not only be appreciated, but I understand it. That's why I did this movie, because I thought, fuck, it's like, if someone's wanted to meet me for 40 years and I'm just crying.
We love it.
And they finally do, and they break down, you hug them, and it satisfies that thing.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
That's amazing. Well, I can't tell you how excited. I mean, just knowing when you were going to be coming here, like we're all so excited. And I have one more question for you, the most random question. If you could take anything with you on a deserted island, total pivot, what would you take?
Everybody here.
Best answer ever.
Are
Guys,
you kidding? I don't want to be alone on an island. Go to an island with the people that love you.
guys, please give a round of applause to John Travolta. I cannot tell you what a treat this has been.